Now, the rest of the story.
Well, as the intro says, welcome back to the rest of the story. Well, had a couple people asking me why I went with an 8235R and not a four-wheel drive. Well, I guess I can give you guys a little bit of a history lesson as to why we went with an 82. Back in 2015, we needed another tractor around here because just depending on the 4640 to do the work really wasn't cutting it. It was doing it, but your ability to get everything done was really cutting everything pretty slim. So we started looking around, and I was originally looking for something that was a little bit more versatile, something that we could use pretty well year around but still be able to use dependably for tillage. That's why we didn't go with a four-wheel drive, but I'll get to that. We originally started looking at, I was seriously looking at a 6210R with a loader on it and duals, front wheel assist. And we came to the conclusion, because, we were all talking about it, came to the conclusion that it wasn't big enough, wasn't heavy enough to pull the equipment that we were expecting to use it for. So we started looking a little bit closer, a bit bigger. We started looking at 7230s. So we figured the bigger frame would help with some of the heavier tillage stuff. It was a little bit harder to find one at the time with the loader on it because I was doing a lot of last minute panic searching. In the span of about 3 weeks, I went from deciding that we needed to find something to actually committing to it. And it was after harvest and everything that year too. So I didn't even see any field work. We didn't get it until late December. Yeah, because I got it before my back surgery. That was January 5th. So it might have been the first part of December, because we did have a bit of snow. It might have been the end of November. That's really irrelevant, but kept looking around, and the thing is, we were looking for something that we could pull the duals off of and use it for feeding cows in the winter, tillage in the spring, tillage in the fall, and then use it during the summer also for making hay. And anybody that's seen some of Ryan's older videos, yes, Ryan from Howell Farms Work is my brother. A lot of people are asking me that here lately. I don't know if you guys can't tell the difference. I got all the good looks in the family, but Ryan got what was left. And the thing is with the 7000 series is that we were kind of kicking around the idea of, well, maybe we should just go for an 8000 with the intentions of being able to use it in the summer and in the winter. Well, not so much in the winter, but really look for something that is going to allow us to cover a lot of acres in a short amount of time, and we can depend on it. And I actually ended up finding an 8265R. Yeah, that's not an 8235, but I ended up finding an 8265R with rear duals, no front wheel assist. And the problem is that I called them up the next day after I found it. I was seriously considering going for that 8265, and then when I called them, they said it was already sold. So I ended up finding our well-known 8235R down in Oklahoma. It was actually brought up from Florida. The dealer had actually purchased it. He was working on a sod farm down in Florida, which would explain some of the rust that is on it. Not a lot, but in just very specific areas. Some of the more exposed, non-painted hardware is showing a little bit of rust. I was always told that in school, and when I was doing my on-the-job training at Sloan's, is to never buy a machine from Florida. Not because they abuse it by any means, but anything that's from down along the coast. I imagine Florida, it's just, you got water all around it on all three sides. The salt, water, in the air, the salt in the air just eats machinery up. And I can attest to that because I actually worked on a couple of machines up there that the seals were chewed up on them, specifically because they said it was working down along the coast in Florida. So that did hold a little bit of weight to it. And I ended up biting the bullet and saying, let's go with this 8235. I mean, saving you guys the long explanation. It works great. The front duals were a big sell on it. I mean, the front tires do a lot of pulling. If you're actually watching, you can see behind the front tires, they are digging in. They're definitely contributing to doing some of the heavy tillage. We did pull the duals off of it that first year, and we did some field work with it in the summer, but eventually did come to the conclusion with the other three tractors, we really didn't need this for hay work. That was also the year that I put a lot more effort into putting the 4640 on the baler. The 46 and the 76 are both basically ready to go on the round baler. The 46 had a wiring issue, and it was keeping the right amount of voltage going to the net wrap actuator, so the bales would have a full roll of net wrap on them if you weren't careful. Took us a couple days to figure that out, but went through and switched the round baler over to the large 1000 RPM power takeoff. So the 82, the 4640, and the 7600 can all run the round baler. They can all run the disc bind, which we have proven, and if we really wanted to, we could put them on the tedder. We would just have to get a adapter for a small 1000 to a small 540, and then just idle everything down really slow. But I don't know, we might just do that just to rub some people the wrong way, because everybody says we use too big of equipment for everything. But I don't know, I honestly, getting back to the whole front wheel or four-wheel drive machine, it wasn't until about a year after I found out that I could have actually gotten a 410 horsepower, I think it was a 9410R. I think it was bareback, or it didn't have the rear links, it did have the PTO. It was like 10,000 less than what this 8235 was, but it's water under the bridge. Myself, I would actually like to go to a four-wheel drive. Some people, everybody has their own opinions on it. My friend Ryan, not my brother Ryan, my friend Ryan says four-wheel drives can be great, but you got to be really careful with them, and you have to know what you're looking at when you go to buy one, because they don't need to have a whole lot of hours on them, and they could be hiding some pretty serious issues. A lot with the pins and the shaft between the front and rear end, the knuckles. Of course, that might have been the older 8030s, because I was just here lately here, I was actually talking about maybe looking for like an 8650, an older four-wheel drive. I don't know, they're hard to find with low enough amount of hours on them, and you just hear so many nightmare stories about them that it's kind of keeping me from really wanting to look at it too much further. But the 8235 works great for us. I mean, it is a versatile tractor. I mean, if any of the other tractors do go down, we can use the 8235 for anything during the summer. That is a reason why we weren't looking at anything bigger than this towards a four-wheel drive, because a four-wheel drive really would have been awkward to try to use that for hay work. When you're only running 4 tractors on an operation that is making row crops and has cattle to take care of and making hay, especially when you're working with a limited number of machines, it's best to try to keep everything somewhat diverse, and having the ability that every tractor can, for the most part, take up the slack for everybody else. I mean, even the 4020, I mean, yeah, you got to be careful there. I mean, she isn't going to be used for cutting hay by any means, but push come to shove, I mean, I wouldn't be making any land speed records, but I could round bale at the 4020. I mean, there's no reason I couldn't. It's used for a lot of other random jobs throughout the year, but every tractor around here complements each other, and a larger four-wheel drive is still on my wanted list. I mean, I can't really go and buy one right now. I'm still working on the 82, believe it or not. Yes, I am. But once I'm out from underneath the 82, I'm not sure what we're going to do. I was asked here what's my next big purchase, because Ryan has bought that and cows, and he's doing a lot of serious soul searching here for a skid steer, that people are starting to ask what my next big purchase is. And to be honest with you, I don't have any big purchase in mind right now, largely because I don't have a whole lot of debt. I don't really. Maybe another year or two. Probably not even two. Depends on what kind of year I have this fall. I can pretty well have all my debt wiped out for the most part, depending on what I decide to do and what the markets do and everything else, because of all the wonderful variables we have when it comes to farming. But as far as my next large purchase, I imagine everybody wants to see machinery. I mean, that is what drives a lot of cool YouTube videos, is new equipment, new machinery, new this, new that. But to be honest, guys, I'm only 29 years old, and when I have money to spare, I'm actually looking at more avenues to invest my money that will give me a return on my investment, that'll bring more money in. Another tractor would be awesome. 7600 was a great purchase. I was young and naive. I shouldn't have bought it when I did, because I'm a hypocrite. I said that about college kids all the time, that the first thing they do is they go buy a car and they're right underneath that foot of having to pay for a car. I did the exact same thing, except with the tractor. If I would have been thinking a little bit more clearly, I would have invested more in cattle instead of putting that money towards the 76. At the time, I had my grandpa's equipment around here. I could use any of my grandpa's equipment without any extra cost, any extra charge. He had 9 different tractors and an assortment of haying equipment and different tools that I could have used to my advantage and save my money on the yearly payments on the 76. And I would potentially be farther ahead going that route than by funneling money towards a tractor. It's kind of a hard pill to swallow when you're young and hearing that, but it is very true. When you first get out of school, the last thing you should really do is getting that first 1 or 2 paychecks and getting a couple grand in your checking account, think you have the world by the ass. You don't. You really don't. You start looking at financing and buying things on credit, and what they really don't tell you is interest and the amount of years that you're going to have to pay for that. And just because you have money right now does not mean that this income source is going to be here in 3 or 4 or 5 years when you're getting on the tail end of making your final payments for this purchase. It's really easy to be narrow-sighted or short-sighted when it comes to making a purchase in anything. Point in case, I'm trying to buy another computer. I have that laptop I got from Herschel. That laptop and my current Dell computer are cranking out pretty consistently here, especially for how often I'm posting videos here lately. And I'm looking at updating my tower. And for the record, I know there's some of you guys out there that are asking about donating money to me. Just stop right now. Just because I'm talking about buying another computer does not mean I want anybody to send me any money. But just for my own sake, I was actually looking at new computers, and right there across the top is finance X amount for the next, 40 months. Well, it doesn't seem like a lot of money. It's $60 a month. That's not too bad. But the problem is, I don't want to be paying $60 a month for the next X amount of months. I mean, I'm trying to get out from underneath my cell phone payment, because I just updated Brittany and I's phones here last year, and I'm still paying for those cell phones. And that right there would be $60 a month off of my monthly expenses just getting those cell phones paid, which will be paid off like next month anyway. But it's the little things. Little things add up, guys. $60 here, $50 there, $20 here. Take out another line of credit. Here's a new credit card. You hear stories about guys, kids, people just getting buried in debt, and that's how you do it. It's a little at a time. It's not one or two big purchases. It's getting nickeled and dimed, and finally you realize that by the time you take off your rent check, your mortgage payment, your groceries, your cell phone, your electricity, your internet, your TV, your student loan. I mean, my student loan has been paid off for 2 years now, and granted, it wasn't much, but the way they had it geared, I was going to be paying for my student loan for like 20 years because it was all interest. I wasn't paying hardly any of the principal down. I was paying $100 a month. My minimum payment was $68 a month. I was always at least paying $100, and paying $100 a month, I still think my overall loan amount was only going down by like $20. That doesn't sound right. $50? I don't know. It wasn't very much. It sure didn't seem like it. So that's why whenever I had any extra money, I was chucking it towards my loans and trying to pay down debt. That's what I'm currently doing now. I'm unfortunately, the 76 is paid for. Like I said, I got the 82 is kind of hanging over my head, which it's not the end of the world. I do have some credit card debt, which is part of my debt, but the credit card debt is a lot of this, that, and the other, and is largely in part to the cattle crash that happened back in 15. I'm still paying off my credit card from back then. So you got to think with a level head, think twice before you start charging stuff. And I know this is getting away from the whole four-wheel drive tractor subject, but I just think that's something a lot of younger people aren't hearing enough. Don't value your money. Try not to spend it. Try to invest it. Put it someplace into something you're going to get your money back out of. I have a bunch of money invested right now, which I could pay off. Believe it or not, I could actually pay off my credit card and have some left over. And I just have no desire to pull those investments out. But they actually, after a year and a half, they're finally starting now to actually turn around. So I don't know. Just try to focus on putting your money in places where it's going to give you a return. That's where I'm currently at with my next big purchase. It's probably going to be cows. Honestly, it could really lean towards fall fertilizer. I have yet to really ever buy, since I started farming in 13, I have yet to actually buy any inputs the fall before the following year. So for production year 2020, I would be looking at buying my fertilizer this fall and putting it on this fall. I've never done that before, but that reduces the amount of money I'll have to borrow to put it in next year's crop, and that is in turn helping me in the longer run because it's less interest I'm paying, plus the inputs are down, and I'm not really susceptible to the prices going up because fertilizer prices just went up $20 a ton. Not necessarily because of anybody's fault, other than the fact that it's flooding and barges can't get up the river. So fertilizer prices have to go up because they have to truck them farther. So yeah, I saved myself money by buying my inputs when I did in January, but I'd probably be even farther ahead yet if I bought them last fall. So I'm getting long-winded. Yes, I are. But hope everybody's enjoying their weekend. I'm working. I guarantee you that. The only thing that was going to keep me from not doing too much is if it was downpouring. And to be honest with you, I don't know if you guys can see around me with my light, but we got some stuff that needs to be pulled out of the machine shed yet. The corn planter is almost certainly going to get hooked up to the 8235. Not because we're going to plant with it, but because we can pull it out with this, get it folded out, and start ripping things off of it, chains and everything else like that, and put new parts on it and get it greased. The grain drill, I didn't show it, but the grain drill is gone through, greased, I just have to clean out the back end of it and then wash it off because it looks terrible. The birds really got to it. So yeah, I know everybody's waiting for that to start barking, and honestly, it's probably coming up a lot sooner than what any of us realize. In the long and short of it, it probably is. Probably even sooner than what any of us really realize, because what's going to happen is the ground's going to get dry and fit, and then at like 8 o'clock some night, I'll be like, you know what? They're saying rain in 2 or 3 days. This needs to get done. I'm going to go out and chisel, and I'll end up running all night because that's just my nature. So Calvin's waiting for me, and it's getting late again. So thanks for watching. Take care, take it easy, keep in touch, and I'm sorry the video is kind of long, but I think I spoke my mind. So I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.